Okay, so hello, Griff. Lovely to see you this afternoon. And today we're going to be talking about regulating of yourself and co-regulation. So, and I'm sure you've got lots to tell me on that.
Yeah, good afternoon, Fran. I certainly have. They're probably a couple of my favourite subjects when it comes to parenting, self-regulation and co-regulation. It's something that I've come to kind of rely quite heavily on when I'm interacting with my little fella.
Okay, so do you want to tell me, Griff, then how you regulate yourself if you can feel yourself coming out of your window?
Yeah, I think that's the key as well, Fran. It's that attunement with yourself, and recognising my own kind of triggers or stress levels very, very early. Whereas perhaps a few years ago, I wouldn't even have considered my own stress or the state of my own nervous system. Really, for me, that's what self-regulation is. It's about understanding the state your nervous system is in. So yeah, as I say, years ago, I probably wouldn't even have considered. Well, I certainly wouldn't have considered it. But now I'm very, very aware of how I'm feeling, of how that will affect my behaviours if I don't do something about it. So yes, self-regulation really is the very start of it for me. It's not even possible for me to co-regulate with my lad if I don't recognise that I need to regulate myself first. One of the things I tend to do to help me regulate, I might look a bit of a bit strange when I'm out in public, but if as soon as I kind of recognise my own stress, I tend to sit and I rub my lips like this. It's a little tip that I picked up probably 2 or 3 years ago from all my research and reading into the nervous system and the kind of bottom up side of things. But apparently your lips are full of parasympathetic fibres, which help you to kind of calm your vagus nerve. So that's one of the things that I sit and do. So if a lot of the time now, my lad's dysregulation will just come out in kind of erratic speech, and he'll speak very fast and very quick. And I have an opportunity then, because I'm looking at him and he might say something that'll trigger me, but because I'm sat there going, kind of rubbing my lips, I understand that what I'm doing is regulating myself in preparation for when the little fella's kind of got through his little speech, so that then I can continue then to co-regulate with him, because I know that the energy that I'm about to share with him is regulated.
Yeah. So the first thing really then, I suppose, is the noticing of yourself, isn't there? So when I'm starting to dysregulate, I can often feel it in my chest, and I just get a real sense of I'm starting to feel irritated or angry or sad or whatever, but I tend to carry it in my chest. And then if I notice that, then I can do something then to regulate. So it's interesting how you said about rubbing your lips. I didn't know that your parasympathetic nervous system was linked to that. So I always love that I learn something new every time I speak to you. But I immediately went to oral regulation, I kind of went to, I wonder if that's Griff orally regulating.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to do it on the videos because I look a bit strange, but I know when I'm with the little fella, I tend to do it a lot. It's more, it's kind of in conjunction with practicing the pause, if you like. Mm-hmm. And I'm sat there and I'm thinking, thinking deeply, but also, what this does is help my nervous system to calm, to kind of stop me from reacting from my old autopilot sort of place where I would have reacted before. Well, don't say that, kid. Don't do this. Don't do that. Which is how it would have been, probably 5 or 6 years ago. Whereas now I'm Mr.
So, I mean, you're absolutely right, you know, and we bang on about this all the time at Needs, and this is the message that we try and give our parents, is that actually you can't regulate somebody else if you're not regulated yourself. Even just being in proximity, if you're dysregulated, you can sense that from somebody else, can't you? You know, if somebody's not okay, you can feel it before they even open their mouths. You can just sense it. So you can't regulate anybody.
Absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, that really is the key thing for me. The key difference between me then and me now is regulation. But I when I first learned about regulation, I read Stuart Shanker's book Self-Reg, and it was like a real aha moment for me. You know, a light bulb moment. It was like, that's the bit that's missing. That's what I haven't been doing. That's where I've gone wrong. Yeah, you know, and it was almost exciting. I was really excited as I was reading it, thinking I've got something here that I could actually try. And because it was about me and not changing my boys' behaviours, it was all about regulating myself. And then I thought, well, you know, I've picked up parenting strategies along the way, and they've had limited success. But this felt different. It was like, actually, yeah, I can see how this is going to be very, very helpful for me. And you know, it wasn't kind of a case of, that's it, I don't need my parenting strategies anymore. I'm just going to regulate myself and co-regulate with the little fella, and everything's going to be hunky-dory. But, you know, kind of as the weeks and months go on, I got more and more confident with self-regulating and co-regulating with the little fella that I've almost come to a point now where my parenting strategies, what I've used before, don't even really come into my mindset now, because the minute I notice his stress or my stress, my first focus is regulating me. My second focus is sharing my regulation with the little fella. And I think with when you're co-regulating, or when you regulate yourself, and then you kind of share that regulation with your child, it's almost as if you can that they're learning from you, from your self-regulation, as well as, you know, because I often read a lot about self-regulation and co-regulation now, and I sometimes think, you know, there's this kind of school of thought that you teach a child how to regulate themselves. I mean, I don't know if that's even possible, but certainly for me and my little fella, it's all about regulating me so that I can co-regulate with him, and he then learns what self-regulation is, A, from watching me and how I'm responding, and B, from the co-regulation.
There's two things there, isn't there? There's the modelling for a start. You know, if we model that behaviour, and actually if we're not feeling okay, it's okay to say to our kids, I'm feeling really cross at the minute and this is what I'm going to do. So we're modelling how to actually regulate, aren't we?
Yeah.
And the other thing within that is the attachment process, whereby if the child is full of something, a big feeling, and they're giving it to you, and you're in a state of calm where you can absorb that and then give it back to them in a digestible way, then actually that's part of the lovely attachment process, isn't it? It's, I've got this big feeling, and actually by giving it to you, you absorbing it and calming me then helps me internalize a sense of safety and trust.
Well, I really like the way you've put that, to be honest. That's not, if I'm honest, that's not something that I think a lot about, but yeah, that certainly makes a hell of a lot of sense to me, with, you know, from the attachment perspective as well, because you're still focused on that connection, aren't you? That high level connection that we spoke about last time I spoke to you, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Fran, to be honest.
So it's almost like if I've got this really big feeling and I can give it to you and you can absorb it, then you can contain me and I can feel safe.
Yeah, so it's like an underlying message almost of, yeah, I've got you. Yeah, you know, absolutely. You're okay. You're absolutely safe.
Yeah. So have you got any things that you do that help co-regulate, other than knowing yourself, is it just a calm voice that you use, Griff? What is it you do to help co-regulate your lad?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a calm voice, and I think you know, the tone of your voice, your facial expressions. I'm very, very aware of the energy I'm sharing with my lad. Yesterday, when I saw him, if I'm honest with you, I struggled a little bit to co-regulate with him yesterday, but that's because I wasn't in a particularly good or at my best, if you like. I wasn't in my best place. So I was aware that it was a little bit of a struggle, and I spent longer yesterday to self-regulate in order to co-regulate with him. And he was getting very erratic in his speech and very repetitive in his speech. And I took plenty of time to regulate myself because I knew I had to. And then, you know, as you say, really, my responses to him then was in a very kind of low, calm voice, listening to what he was saying. Almost, I mean, I'm more than happy to repeat back to him what he says, even if it's something that I don't particularly like, so that he feels he's been heard, he's been listened to. But my goal is never to change what he's said or what he's done. My goal is always just to connect with him at that level and feed back to him that, do you know what, Griff's heard you, Griff's, you know, and as you say, you're modelling then that it's okay, because he already knows that if he's shouting or swearing, it's wrong, so he doesn't need me to tell him that. But what he's getting back from me is regulation, and then eventually I find that the behaviours, the speech, the erraticness in his voice, he begins to match my lower tone, my calmness, my regulation. Then I'm kind of satisfied then that he's co-regulating successfully.
So he's really anchored to you, hasn't he? He's anchored to you in that moment.
Yeah, that's certainly the way it feels. And I mean, I go a lot by how I feel and how he feels, and I'm very aware of, rather than kind of, as I say, my autopilot parenting scripts. I kind of feel my way through the situation with him, if you like. Yeah, and that's how it feels to me. It's you know, am I safe now to play him up a little bit? You know, give him the old shoulder nudge. Is he going to be okay, or is he going to explode? And I feel my way through the interactions with him, really.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Thank you, Griff. Another enlightening chat with Griff on a lovely Monday afternoon.
No, thank you. It's always a pleasure, Fran.